Welcome to the VMJPod's Employer Brand series. I'm David Macciocca, and this time I'm joined by co-host Will Innes. Together, we'll dive into the strategies and stories emerging from Brisbane, with lessons that help you build credibility, scale impact, and deliver results.
Well, welcome to the VMJPod, where we are unpacking employer brand, all things employer brand. It's really exciting. I'm David Macciocca.
I'm Will Innes, and we're with Shannon today. How you going, Shannon?
Yes, very good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's always great. Do you want to do a quick introduction, like the classic kind of job title and what you're doing right now?
Of course. So my title is Talent Acquisition and University Relations Specialist at Bechtel. So I look after all of the early careers hiring for Australia, as well as the employer brand that kind of has been drip fed through as well up until now.
And Bechtel, like massive company, global. Tell us a little bit about Bechtel.
It's a beast. I suppose at our core, we're an engineering construction company. We operate all over the world in different industries, building different projects. I suppose most famously built the Hoover Dam. Here in Australia, we do a lot of projects in the mining industry, public infrastructure, a bit in oil and gas as well. So
just a little company, Will.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got fingers in a few pies.
Little
right?
player, yeah.
Well, one of the reasons why I'm really happy to have you share your story is because you're the heavy lifter. You're the person who really loves employer brand and is doing employer brand and putting at the front Bechtel, particularly here in this region, to talk about what can be done. And building trust is hard with stakeholders that sometimes don't understand what employer brand is. So I'm really looking forward to unpacking this episode.
For sure. Yeah, I think it's always, no matter where you are, I think building the business case as to why you're doing what you're doing is really important. And coming from the doer, I'm excited to share some insights potentially.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about how you communicate the value. Like when we spoke off air, we were talking about starting small and building that trust. Can you talk about a project that you might have been part of early days where the business might have taken a little bit of a risk and then how you communicated that? What was that journey like?
Yeah, absolutely. I think piloting anything is always really hard, and getting the initial buy-in to pilot whatever the project might be, if it's a new EVP, if it's a talent advocacy program, or something completely, even smaller than that, just a regular posting schedule on social media, for instance, is really difficult. I think some of the ways that I've tried to build that trust and build that credibility is often being a bit of a maverick.
No. I like the sound of this. Tell us more.
I like to call it guerrilla warfare, right? It's guerrilla employer branding. You just have to go and do it.
Yeah.
Within the bounds of what's allowed and what is somewhat safe to begin with.
Sounds covert, Will.
Potentially, that's just starting a regular LinkedIn posting schedule. It's putting together the templates for the talent acquisition team to go and advertise this stuff, like posting it on their personal LinkedIns or other social medias, things like that. And from that little sprout, something starts to grow, and you can then collect things like data, metrics, what that's doing to the cost per hire, time to hire. These are the things that, in my experience, the powers that be, the managers, really like to kind of get their head around, which then opens the doors to bigger, better, more time-intensive projects as well.
Yeah, because you want to do some cooler things outside of those projects, but it's important that you have a foundation. What are the benefits of building trust, and how should people build trust with stakeholders internally?
It's critical. Without trust, you kind of don't really have a leg to stand on. A lot of what we do in employer branding is built on trust. It's built on the assumption that you're the expert in the team, or you have the most knowledge or experience around this particular area. So to build that trust, you've just got to show that what you're doing is bringing in some sort of value, and you quantify that with data. In my experience, I've kind of gone and done the thing, whether it's starting that LinkedIn branding template, for example, getting all that data together and just shoving some time in someone's calendar or knocking on their office. Not really asking for permission, more just going and doing it and then potentially begging forgiveness at the end.
Yeah, well, I suppose if there's low-hanging fruit and it's, you're talking about a template, empowering the recruiter to share a template, it's not a heavy lift, but it's meaningful for them. And if they're advocating for you that was helpful and they want you to do more, well then that's a really good thing, isn't it?
So you talked. I really like this. A little bit of front-footedness clearly works. I mean, some of this must be your personal style. It's kind of putting a meeting in someone's diary and say, well, look, I've done this and here are the results. It gets you on the front foot straight away. So there's some proactiveness. But I think there's probably a learning in there for anyone that's thinking about how do I start to build some momentum, even at a small level. It's kind of start showing some results. And as long as you're pretty much playing within the boundaries, you can push the limits, but start.
Yeah.
Is that kind of one of your philosophies or encouraging points, do you think? Is that what you've learned over the years? Just kind of start?
Absolutely. Just start, be bold and really own it.
Yeah.
I think if you've got the passion for it and you know it's going to make a huge difference to the business, whether it's in cost or whether it's just going to make your life easier as someone in the talent acquisition team, go ahead and start that crusade, because chances are as you go along you'll start to pick up stakeholders along the way. You'll start to really find your tribe and find some of your key champions, and people will convert. People will see the win for what it is, and come along on the journey with you.
Yeah, that's interesting. Just jumping into one of the points you made there, you talked about being a bit brave and giving things a go. I know you work with the graduate program, and that might typically be an area where people feel they can be a bit more creative because it's a bit more younger generation and they can try different things.
Yes.
Is that true for you, or have there been any areas that have been surprising where maybe a more mature leader has actually been open to trying something a bit more creative? Has anything surprised you in that kind of space?
Bit of both.
Yeah.
I think actually graduates are really switched on to professional social medias, perhaps more than what I was when I was at that stage in my career as well. Most actually have a LinkedIn, or at least in the fields that we look at here at Bechtel. And most are pretty switched on across all social medias. But I think actually getting buy-in from more senior people in the business, or people that are a bit older, in my experience, it's tough, I think, initially to get that first video or get that first professional statement to go out there. This is why you should come join us. But once they see themselves in the bright lights, and you got to know, you got to pick your target here, someone that's quite maybe bold or sends the right kind of message for who you're targeting, they actually really do come around and something grows out of it. So for instance, I've run campaigns before where the initial buy-in to get, perhaps video content or, other content for social media to specifically target this demographic has been really difficult initially. No one wants to be on video. No one wants to kind of put their face to it, or are nervous to be the first person. But once you get that first, you only need one. Once you get that first person and you get that content out there and it gets such a huge reaction online in a positive way, that's when people start putting their hands up and volunteering for it as well.
It's sort of my wheelhouse. I agree. You can pick them off one by one, or you could do it as a group as well, and both have their benefits. But in essence, you need advocacy internally, and you do need to have a culture that is welcoming, and that's really helpful, because getting a pat on the back by a colleague is a really good feeling for the person who did put themselves out there. Or it could be a comment on LinkedIn or a like. That's the aha moment for them.
But I think you're touching on something which is, I think, really important for companies that are starting or an individual that's wanting to do something. You talked about sort of bravery and giving things a go. I think that's absolutely true. And I also think what you're shining a light on there, which is helpful for others, is getting over that first hump, like how you build momentum. So I think organizations saying we want to do more content, whether it's on LinkedIn or whatever, which maybe has a more TikTok style. It uses some of the trends, the rapid cuts, some of the music, whatever it may be. We want to do a new style. And the hiring manager might go, oh, no, that doesn't suit. But if you showed them a photo, I've already shot this, and this is something maybe I've already put it out, but you may even get their approval. But showing them, they go, oh, actually, that's not as bad as I thought. That's not as wacky as it made it sound. So I think there is something about getting over the hump, or having one video that works, and their first one may be a bit tricky, but the second one, their personality comes out.
Yeah.
I think there's something in that.
I think you do need to share what's in it for them, not just the outcome. Like there's personal branding that's in it for them.
Yes.
Internal or external recognition. Yep. It could be that you, like for grads, some of the best campaigns I've seen are where they've tied it to a performance metric, and grads will run through a brick wall to get ahead of the game.
Yeah, that's another lever. I mean, I suppose
it could be as simple as swag, or there's got to be something in it for them to step forward. Not because it could be that you push back and you say, well, look, your roles are just really hard to fill. They're difficult, and they're going to meet you anyway. You're the hiring manager. Let's just put you out there. Give something a go that's a little bit different. It's outside of the scope. We believe it'll lead to better quality applications.
Yeah.
Then there's something in it for them, right?
One of the most important things is packaging up your idea and making it palatable for whoever you're trying to get approvals from.
So personas, like know your audience.
Yes, it's critical.
So any tips and tricks around that, like knowing your audience or things that you have found that have influenced people, internal stakeholders, to take a step or to trust you? You've mentioned data. Anything else other than flat out bribery? What else have you seen or tried that might be a good tip for someone?
Yeah, I mean, typically the more senior you go, the more data you need, because you start talking to the people that make decisions based on dollars or
ROI,
data or ROI. So for those, let's say if I want to get a graduate to film one of these things, completely different story. For them, I speak to the personal branding aspect. This is really good for you outside of just here. It's going to get your name out there in this field. You might start to get some invitations to events, or you might get other speaking opportunities out there as well. We do give them a bit of swag as well.
There's internal and external visibility. Yeah, your personal brand is internal, like being visible, and it's external as well, right? It's all encompassing.
And being at such a big company, we always feed back internally what's happening as well. You've got to celebrate what's going on and tell people about it, because people want to know, whether it's through like an internal Slack channel or, some sort of group email or whatever, a toolbox notification.
Well, right? You're internal as well. Okay.
Yes.
So is there an engagement platform that you're using to communicate? Out of curiosity,
like an intranet.
We have a share. Yeah, we've got an intranet.
Yeah.
And there's other various things that we do as well. We do a toolbox company wide every week. So notifications get read out, and from there you can kind of let everyone know on a global stage what's happening.
Yeah. So you've built a bit of trust. Are you part of that conversation every week? Do you have like a 5-minute slot where you can slip your stuff in?
Occasionally, yeah. I mean, when we went live with the grad program and some of the early careers hirings, we absolutely put it out there. Who do you know? Post about it. Let's get the word out, not just internally, but use and utilize the networks that people have built up over 30, 40 years within the company itself as different pathways to actually getting the ball rolling. And from there, we started launching sort of a content calendar, effectively, which everyone was aware about. And then they could go on LinkedIn, like, share, comment, push it out further and further each time from the initial go live launch post, right through to 2 weeks left to apply, etc. Coming up, we'll do one with welcoming all of our new graduates for the coming year. So it's really good in terms of getting visibility out there internally, externally.
Did you put the content calendar together?
Yes.
You did. Okay. And then how did you? So you put the content calendar together. You got it agreed by a stakeholder internally, whoever it was. Maybe Tracy, if she's watching. Hi, Tracy. And you would have then communicated to ambassadors. Would we call them ambassadors? Like people internally that you've like, hey, I really want you to comment, you to like, you to share. Did you create a Teams channel for that?
Nothing so formal, actually. Like I say, I'm a bit of a maverick at what I do, so I didn't get the content calendar approved. I just kind of did it.
Yeah. But it makes sense.
But saying that, no one's told me to stop yet, so I'm going to keep going until I get a hard line.
Have we let the cat out of the bag here?
Potentially.
Leave it out.
Potentially. But look, I've found my champions. A lot of them are our existing early careers cohort. So when we go live with, for example, an intern intake, which is coming very soon, I've already got them asking me, hey, when are the ads going out? I want to be on the lookout to like and share and send to my mates still at uni, for example. So, it's working already. I've got sort of that buy-in at that early level. So far, I've got a bit of buy-in at the senior level as well. I'm kind of using that to roll on to hopefully what we can start implementing next year.
This episode is brought to you by Video My Job, introducing the fastest way to turn employee stories into multi-channel content. One video now instantly becomes branded blogs, quote cards, social posts, and more, all perfectly formatted for the channels you use to attract and engage talent. And the best part? Zero editing required. Record once, repurpose everywhere. Book your demo at videomyjob.com and experience the new era of employee content creation.
So if we were to take a step back and we were to think about the stage where you've built the foundation and you just wanted to reach a little bit more. You knew something would work, but you needed the business to really have a bit of faith in your concept, and you probably needed some money to do this thing.
Yeah.
Have you been in that situation, and can you share what happened as a result?
Absolutely. I think employer branding is somewhat infamous for getting no budget all the time. So when it comes to asking for investment in the function, it can be intimidating. With, speaking from my experience with having some early runs on the board, whether it's coming from getting those champions internally to post about what you're doing or celebrate what we're doing as a company. That's when you can start using a bit of that momentum to go and then ask for investment. So classic example are careers fairs at universities in this space. They're not free to attend. Not all of them are anyway.
But it is important you have a presence.
Yeah. If we don't, then how can you get your brand out there, alongside your competitors in this space that are also attending those events?
So you're setting the scene. Had you had a presence there previously?
Not really, actually. A lot of our customers and our competitors have been at these events before, sponsoring student guilds and things like that. But Bechtel, either through luck or perhaps, we haven't needed it up until now, haven't really been attending those events in a consistent manner. So what we really were trying to do here was to get some investment to attend, to get us on that same platform and get us out there as an employer of choice.
Yeah, and some people might think, oh, well, it's only a career fair. Surely you can get a budget. But it's hard, isn't it? Like, particularly if you've never had one before. So how did you go about getting that approval?
I think, for that conversation, it was all about the return on investment. It was a little bit of promise making, but it was also getting everything aligned and a plan ready for the stakeholders. So we weren't just going to turn up and give away a bunch of free stuff. There was a plan to capture interest, capture applications at the event, get them into some sort of holding or talent pool whilst, we went through sort of the week of uni careers fairs, and using that interest to then basically save money on advertising, save money on having to go out and, pay all these different platforms to say that Bechtel's looking at doing a graduate program. We've already got the talent. We captured it there on the day. And even if someone didn't come up and talk to us at that event, they saw our banner, and that has real value because now they know who we are. Maybe they didn't before. So it's the value in creating that talent network over multiple different year groups at the university as well, not just the ones we're looking to recruit then and there.
You're really commercial. That's what it seems like. That's what's coming through. Like, you're very conscious of the project and executing it, and then collecting the insights and then sharing that. Was this project a successful project?
100%. We got, thinking about the numbers that are almost all the way locked in for next year, about 50% of the graduates that we're taking next year came from those career events directly. So how much money has that saved us? How much time has that saved us in advertising and sort of that pre-screening phase, which we did at the event?
So the quality was better as well?
Yes. Yeah. You get to speak to them face-to-face on the day, get them excited. They get to know a bit about Bechtel. You can assess if they're a fit. And it works from there. On it rolls. Capture them early while they're still studying in the intern program. Roll them into being a grad. Roll them off as a professional.
I think this is the classic conversation within an organisation is you're not just throwing an idea out there. You're showing a plan. You're putting your name to a result as well. You're saying this is what we're going to achieve. This is how we're going to do it. I mean, it's classic good practice for asking for investment and showing what you're going to do with it and linking it to the outcomes. So
and oftentimes in early careers, it's about the long game as well. Someone isn't going to be immediately adding value back into the business 6 months into their time as a graduate. It's about thinking long term. So year 1, this is what we need our grads to do, year 2, etc.
Yeah.
So you can say to them, well, by 6 months, they're going to be able to do X, Y, Z. 2 years, it looks completely different. They're tackling stuff on their own.
Yeah. I mean, the grad, it's high volume and you can be a bit more risky because you're dealing with, your numbers are bigger. But it plays into traditional talent acquisition as well. It's the same thing. Like, you need a business case, you need to have trust with your manager.
Speaking more broadly, this would be the same process if you were to attend an industry event that requires you to put down some money for a table, for example. It's about, why are you attending? What value is it going to bring back to the business? Is it worth you taking 2 or 3 hours out of your day to attend? You need to have that justification ready, both from, I guess, a personal and professional setting, probably more so professional if you're asking for some money.
Yeah.
And then be brave, go out and ask for it. Don't ask, you don't get.
It sounds like you're going to be able to get a lot more in the future. What are a few things that you've got your eye on? A few creative things that maybe even that you've seen in the past that you're like, oh, I'd love to be able to introduce something like this at Bechtel.
Yeah, I've been very lucky throughout, perhaps a couple of previous employers to really get my hands dirty with a lot of creative projects in the branding space. So ideally, this is my plan.
Yeah. Let's get into
launching it here.
Full brand refresh. I want, something more modern, something striking visually, something that says, you look at that and it's Bechtel, or know what we're about.
Or like digital
imagery,
okay.
And sort of the slogans or the language that goes along with that.
Yeah.
Which will come from an EVP. I think, refreshing that, which is a huge piece of work.
No.
It's not something to be...
It's not a big piece of work.
It's not something to be tackled in a couple of weeks, that's for sure. It's an enormous undertaking, which then informs everything else that you do. And then, I mean, if I have it my way, we'll be raining swag for days. But I think, more realistically speaking, it's about, putting some structure and some bones to, yes, a content calendar, but fleshing it out more. So, what can we be doing outside of these key peak hiring times? How can we expand that to, the broader talent acquisition team, to the executive recruitment team, to the guys that just work so hard day in and day out, 40, 50 roles on at a time. How can we alleviate their time suck activities?
Sales enablement activities?
Yeah, well, all of the
enablement.
screening, all of the, I guess the sourcing piece, actually getting applicants at the start of the funnel, and then, taking them through. But it also leads into retention as well. I think if we can really communicate why we are a good place to work and what we can do for our employees, that then leads to decreased attrition, or at least that has been the case at my previous workplaces. So the data is there. We know it works. It's just getting that investment to get this stuff happening.
No, you're right. Like if they know what they're getting themselves into, they're less likely to leave. Yeah.
Correct.
No, you're spot on. It's good. It's really interesting. And if you were to be a little bit creative, like what have you seen that you thought could be kind of interesting to introduce?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how applicable this would be to where I am at the moment, but, I saw an article that the ADF was advertising their careers site on gaming waiting lobbies,
No.
first-person shooter waiting lobbies.
Yeah.
And as a result, they've hired more people last year than they have in the last 17 years.
Crazy.
How crazy is that? So it works.
So you don't have to do the traditional things to something that might work for some business might necessarily work for others and vice versa, but that totally makes sense. ADF, if you have an interest in gaming, shooting,
Yeah. I mean,
Makes
do
sense.
this in real life? I mean, I don't know how they position that,
yeah,
but
or there might be an administrator or like someone who's just like a truck driver who
Right.
just likes to play games and play Fortnite or something
Yeah.
like that, and there's an interest there, and then you're converting that interest into curiosity, and there might be a role, and it could be their dream role.
if you know where your demographic hangs out most of the time online, be it Facebook, gaming lobbies, at the pub, who knows? There are always opportunities to get your brand in front of people. I think you just have to be a bit more creative about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't be such an expensive advertising campaign, surely.
What's your sense of how sophisticated most employers are in Australia thinking about those kind of tactics of finding audiences on different channels or using different media, such as ADF advertising on different gaming sites? Like, how high do you think the bar is set currently, and what kind of opportunities do you see in the market for organisations?
Yeah, I think overall it's getting more and more mature year on year. I think more companies are starting to realise it's not enough to just post something and hope it works. There's a little bit more strategy, a little bit more creative thinking going behind how you position yourself as an employer out externally and internally as well.
So you think there's a play for more top of the funnel activity?
Absolutely. Yeah. Not only that, but I suppose from an employee lifecycle opportunity as well.
Yeah.
You don't have to limit yourself with branding to purely the talent acquisition function. I mean, that's what I've done because that's where I've been. But you can really link it in with learning and development, your talent management or organisation development, all of those sort of key HR functions. But you can spread out even further. I mean, you can link in marketing, comms, benefits.
Throw the checkbook at this girl. Like, wow, she can make it happen.
I would. If I could, I would. I like to help.
I believe. I'm a believer.
I think there is space for everyone to get involved, even your operational managers that are just, day in, day out in the weeds. Why are they there? Ask them. What do they like about what they do? What brings them joy? how can we then communicate that to others? Do other people in the business know why our senior leaders like to rock up every
A
day?
true employer brand person. She's got stories. She's sniffing them all out. She wants to get them out there.
The picture you're painting for me is that employer branding is actually a whole of organisation activity. It doesn't just live with one person, the employer brand manager, that actually everyone influences the employer reputation in the market. You know, the hiring manager interview, the benefits you give the organisation. Like everyone contributes to that culture and the workforce.
Yeah.
So in fact, it's almost democratizing the employer brand to really take it forward.
Yeah.
It has to be multiple touch points and everyone needs to connect everyone within the organisation. Is that a fair kind of view, do you think? Or is that too bold, or is it?
No, I think employer branding, the crucible of it often lives within talent acquisition or the employer brand manager, which often kind of sits adjacent. But from there, you get enough people really rocking employer brand, going out, you know, how many people does the average talent acquisition specialist speak to in a day? 50? More? Tell them about it. You know, ask them what makes your life awesome here.
Multiply that by your team of TA people, all of the automated marketing you have. You know, it's thousands that you're touching.
Yeah, exactly right. And then that message only goes further internally, which then flip it, put it out externally as well. Tell people why it's so good to be here. But keep it real, keep it authentic to the lived experience of your people, because as we know, authentic content does the best on social media, does the best on TikTok. TikToks get picked up by the news all the time. You know, like how big can you take it, really? So there's lots of opportunity, doesn't matter where you sit in the business, to actually pick up a piece of brand and own that.
I feel like I could talk about this topic for quite some time. It is fascinating. Will, any last question for our guest?
I love the way you've framed today. I love the big, bold vision of how employer branding really could be a team sport. It takes a village, after all, the whole organisation. But you've also brought it down to some really sensible, pragmatic, sometimes bold ways to get things moving from a small start to sort of build momentum. So I suppose as a last question, just any key advice for people that want to maybe start or build momentum, just as a sort of summary and bring that together. What are your top tips that people should be thinking about in terms of building momentum for employer branding in an organisation?
Yeah, it's definitely start small and start inexpensive. Whether it's just designing something, using it, getting other people to adopt that, template or adopt that way of doing things, and then get them chatting about it, talk about it with as many people as possible. That will get your momentum rolling. That will get some initial investment in actually taking things to the next level, whether it's attending events or getting some swag or, actually getting some paid advertising going, for example. And then once you can start collecting the data off of that regarding the return on investment, time per hire, cost per hire, all that good stuff, retention even, that's when you can really take it to the next level and start thinking more strategically, getting others to invest in that strategic piece about, an EVP creation, huge. Rebrand, refresh, huge. All these other things that will start to kind of come to place. Be patient. It will take time. But the more people you can bring along with you and the more champions you can identify for yourself, the bigger it will get and the quicker it will happen.
Great tips.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. It was fascinating.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.